We are the two witnesses watching the end of the world as it happens. And
And
this,
it's getting closer by all accounts.
oh yeah, apparently much closer. Thanks, Israel, for that little push.
آنچه که ملاحظه کردید صدایی که شنیدید فضای غبارآلوده استدیو
I was reading something about blue light and COVID vaccines and them interacting and I with 5G. And I just thought, I remember during COVID, like 5 years ago, that people were burning down 5G masts saying it was spreading COVID, and I couldn't get my head around what the link could be. So,
Yeah,
any ideas? Why would people think that 5G masts would spread COVID if COVID is a virus?
yeah. So apparently, I didn't notice this, but during COVID, during the lockdowns, suddenly hundreds of these 5G towers appeared overnight in many locations across the UK. And people started to think there must be a link. So the 5G, they've put something in the injections that reacts to 5G.
Right, but
So it's a
they were burnt. I think they were burning
graphene
them.
oxide, not
Yeah, they were burning them
people
down
were burning
before
them
the
down because I think,
vaccinations, though. So what interests me is that now we've got this conspiracy theory about something in the vaccines that reacts with the 5G. So what were they
yeah,
thinking before that? So what's going on there? Why did it even come up? And then we find that there's more
well,
research and people did
maybe people
somebody
did
know?
notice
And they
yeah,
were
that they were
built
going to,
during the COVID
yeah,
crisis.
there were hundreds of these things went up. I mean,
Why?
maybe they
When the countries are to
well,
stand still, when people aren't working, when people are all claiming benefits, why would the country suddenly spend all that money? Who was putting them up? Who's paid for it?
well, it must be the government. So basically, the vaccine, as we now know, was created before COVID spread because the COVID was only introduced, so the vaccine could be introduced, if you know what I mean. So the vaccine was already, and the plan was always to have a 10-year lockdown. And from what I've read, the 5G towers have got absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with Wi-Fi signal or a better phone signal, nothing to do with that at all. So people
What
probably
are they
thought if they
then?
saw them all going up.
If they're not
So
5G, what are they?
apparently, well, this is why it links to the vaccine, not the COVID itself, because the graphene oxide that they've put in the vaccines respond to 5G. So conspiracy theorists say once they turn on the 5G, those the graphene oxide will actually it's gone to your brain. So you basically, I mean,
You're
I
going to
don't
be
know
fried?
how exactly. Yeah, pretty
Wow.
much.
So when
So
do
it's
they
like a
turn
mass
these things on?
depopulation event.
When are they turning them on? Haven't they turned them on already?
Well, we don't know. Well, if they have, and they were meant to increase your phone signal, they're not working, are they?
Well,
So
no. I
either
mean,
they haven't
if
turned them on.
if I go on mine, I've not got 5G. Do you have 5G?
No, I don't have 5G.
No. So if anybody's
I've only got
watching and
4G on
does
mine.
have 5G, could you let us know where you are and when you got your 5G?
Everyone I've seen has said, or everyone I've seen online has said, it makes no difference to your phone signal. It's got nothing
Right.
to do with phone signal.
Okay.
They
So
probably
what?
just called it 5G.
Yeah. So what I'd read, the thing that got me started on this, it was Fergus O'Connor Greenwood talking to Richard Vobes. Fergus O'Connor Greenwood was concerned that it was more to do with destroying your pineal gland or pineal gland. So that's what he's talking about. So what is the pineal or pineal gland? What does it do?
So the pineal gland, interestingly, now if someone measured your pineal gland, it's about the size of a raisin, whereas in the past, many years ago, it was the size of an eye, and it's called the third eye, and
Really?
it's called an eye, but yeah, because it's hollow and it has rods and cones, and it reacts to light in the same way that your eyes do. But it's absolutely essential for regulating your sleep patterns because it creates melatonin. And many people say it's kind of the windows to the soul because it's sort of the seat of your soul and your ability to relate to higher things. This is what it's meant to be. Obviously, in different
Right,
cultures,
that's
it's seen
right.
in
That's
different
the
ways.
sort of
But
cultural myth type thing. It's not
yeah,
science as such.
is definitely what regulates
Yes.
your sleep patterns and your endocrine system. So it affects your mood, it affects many things in your body because that's hormonal. Your endocrine system basically regulates your hormones. And
Right.
so your pineal gland forms on day 49 following conception. And Tibetans have a theory that at day 49, it takes 49 days to reincarnate. But also at 49 days is when the female or male is settled in your, I mean, obviously at conception, you've got the XX or the XY, but at 49 days, that's when sort of the sex hormones are kicking. So I was thinking maybe by destroying the pineal gland, and there's been lots of research in the vaccinated where it shows that basically the pineal gland is destroyed, literally destroyed. So I'm thinking, is that why we're seeing so many more people questioning their sexuality? Because they've taken the vaccine, the pineal gland has been affected, and now they think they've been born in the wrong body. Don't know, just a theory. But it's interesting that the pineal gland is linked to that as well.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah.
I've actually got a slide to show you with different cultures where they always represent spirituality with the shape of a pine cone. The Pope's staff has got a pine cone on it. But yeah, and the pine cone only opens when it's exposed to natural light. So it's like, the enlightenment of the pineal gland when it's exposed to spirituality
Oh,
and
cool.
light.
Now, a person from history, of course, who was really into this pineal stuff was Joseph Steiner. And I've heard of Steiner schools, but I didn't realize that Joseph Steiner was into
Oh yes, of course,
spirituality,
yeah.
and this sort of thing. And that's what he set his schools up for, was to give children more spiritual upbringing. And he was convinced that the pineal gland was the seat of spirituality. He viewed it as the key organ in the development of spiritual awareness and insight, and he believed it to be a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms, linking individuals to the larger
Yes,
spiritual world.
yeah.
So he called it the cosmic eye, spiritual sight, and suggested it played a role in mystical experiences and reception of high knowledge.
So linking it back to the COVID and the sort of pharmaceutic, big pharma, there's a guy, I didn't catch his name, but he sounds Scandinavian, but he was referring specifically to America for the last 60 or so years. He said there must be a really clever group of scientists who worked out that it takes four things to ruin the pineal gland or calcify it or basically stop humans linking with the spirituality. So it's fluoride, hence fluoride in the water and toothpaste. It's glyphosate, which they put in the food. It's aluminium, which they spray as through the
And of course,
chemtrails,
calcification of
and then
the
Wi-Fi.
yeah, so calcification of the pineal gland causes Alzheimer's as well. And aluminium's always been linked to Alzheimer's too, hasn't it? So that
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a little bit
yeah,
of a link
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah, fluorine was a
yeah,
byproduct of another chemical thing that they did, and
yeah.
they couldn't get rid of all this fluorine. They
Industrial,
didn't know what to do with
yeah.
it. So then they invented this
So they
idea
put it in
that
the
it would
water.
be good for you in the water, so they could just pour it away.
A new book, The Fluoride Deception, unearths the mystery of how a grim workplace poison and the most damaging environmental pollutant of the Cold War was added to our drinking water and toothpaste. A chronicle of the abuse of power and of the manufacture of state-sponsored medical propaganda. The Fluoride Deception reveals how a secretive group of powerful industries, all of which faced extensive litigation for fluoride pollution, collaborated with officials from the National Institute of Dental Research to launder fluoride's public image.
And it's just industrial
And
waste
then they
been dumped into the water.
yeah, yeah.
And now they charge for it as well.
98% of countries ban it.
Mm.
But in America,
And
I mean,
England,
obviously, RFK Jr. is we don't do it anymore. It's
they do
illegal.
they do it in a certain, about 4 or 5 councils in Britain, and I think there's one up north. I know that mine doesn't because I checked, but yeah, they are still doing it in Britain. There is still fluoride in some of the water.
Yeah,
Check your area to see.
yeah. No, I thought for some reason I thought I'd read that they were going to reintroduce it to all,
Yeah, because they don't know
across
what to
the
do with it.
UK, and I thought,
It's
oh my
a
goodness, just as
sludge.
America's banning it.
Oh, right.
But the good news is that the good
Good
news is
news.
there are ways of helping and decalcifying the pineal gland.
Oh,
So if you can distill your water, and then there's Mark Atwood, who I know you know, he basically runs a therapy center, but he also tells you how to get your water to be living water rather than dead water. But you have to distill it first and then make it somehow. He said it costs about £300 to buy the kit for home, but if you haven't got
him.
that kind of money, you can literally just add lemon juice or lime juice to the water, and although it's acidic, once you drink it, it helps somehow.
Oh,
And
right.
also, don't use fluoride in your toothpaste. Just buy
Yeah,
toothpaste without fluoride.
it's very difficult to buy toothpaste with that fluoride. So
Mm, I can show you a really good one. Obviously, other brands are available. I just bought it from Amazon.
Euthymol,
Mm,
Euthymol.
that's the
Right,
one.
there it is.
Apparently, it's been around forever. And when I got it, I tasted it and I thought, I'm sure I've tasted this before, so maybe I have used it sometime in the past.
And
But
what's in it
yeah, so
instead
I've been
of
using
the
that.
usual stuff then? Is
It's
it
like
minty?
herbal things.
Oh,
Not
right.
minty, no. It's a bit germaline. Do you remember germaline?
Oh, I love the smell of
It's a,
germaline. Is it
yeah,
really?
so it's
Oh, I have to
a bit
try
like that.
some.
Yeah.
I
There
absolutely love
used to
the
be
smell
some
of germaline.
chewing gum that tasted of germaline. Do you remember that? Was it Bazooka or something? I know it used to remind me of
Bazooka that
germaline.
veruca with your germaline chewing gum.
Mm. So yeah, I mean, those are two things you can do to help. But obviously, we can't really get away from Wi-Fi. But that's one of the four factors. I mean, obviously, it's a massive, massive area, and there's so much to learn about it. But it seems like it was absolutely deliberate with the COVID vaccines. Is a targeted approach to destroying the soul. Really, that's the idea.
It's a bit like Philip Pullman's books, isn't it?
Mm.
Where
The
they're
dark
tied to
materials and
their
the demon
demon
is,
and then you
yeah,
can
and it's
splice them
cut.
away.
This is a video of the last few minutes of Dad's life. Mom had been with him throughout the night and heard the death rattle. But she went on to bed, and suddenly I woke up at 6 o'clock, talked to Mom, and said, I think it's the very end. I sat down with him and held his hand, and you can hear the death rattle.
As Mark begins to sing to his dad, Amazing Grace, to help him pass on, this happens. What looks like a speck of light can be seen leaving his body moments after his last breath. It can later be seen next to his son Mark as it flies up and vanishes. Mark believes this was the spirit of his father Joe crossing over.
The next thing I wanted to talk about really kind of ties into that because it's another soulless topic, is the abortion bill that's going to go through Parliament next week, that's been brought by an MP called Antonia Antoniazzi. Two Tonys for the price of
Sounds very English.
yeah, she's Welsh
Another
actually.
English MP.
Welsh.
Is she Welsh?
Welsh.
Italian Welsh, yeah.
That's right. So she's going to bring a bill to decriminalise abortion. So abortion was started being allowed in 1966, and it revoked. Well, it didn't revoke. This is the problem. It didn't revoke a law from Victorian times that made abortion illegal. So abortion is illegal at the moment in Britain, except in certain circumstances, and it's got to be under 24 weeks, and you've got to have two doctors sign it off, and it's got to be because of danger to the mother or something wrong with the baby, and that's it. That's quite a high bar, you would think, but obviously in practice it's not. It's not a high bar because we have thousands of abortions every year. Right, so what the changes are is that under this bill it will no longer be illegal, so it is going to revoke the Victorian law. So no need for two doctors, no no time limit, except for if you have the abortion in a medical setting.
And that's 24
Where
weeks
else are you
still, is
going to
it?
have it?
Well, you can have a pill sent to your home to do it at home
Right,
on
so
your own.
absolutely. And the pill,
Already,
you're only
already.
allowed to use those up to 10 weeks at the moment.
Yeah, but
Anything after that is in a medical setting.
no one
But
checks it.
yeah, so now you'll be able to take those pills up to 39, 40 weeks.
It happens already.
For any reason.
It happens.
So it begs the question, where are they going to happen? And what if you take it at 40 weeks and then have a live baby because it was already too late to do an abortion, wasn't it? What
Yeah.
happens then? What then?
Well,
That was my first question. And what are the risks of doing this? And are people going to be told what the risks are? The reason she's brought this bill was because of a case that happened in COVID. Now, that every year there's a few women who do get arrested and are investigated for illegal abortion, suspected termination of pregnancy. So it was a case that happened in COVID, and it was this woman who was arrested and charged with illegal abortion because she took the pills at 26 weeks. But she said in her court case, when she went before the jury, that she thought she was only 10 weeks pregnant, but she was actually 26 weeks. So she took the pills, and at 26 weeks she had the baby. And then in court it turns out that the reason she didn't want the baby was because she was in a three-way relation, a BDSM relationship with a husband and wife that she was living with. And she was the submissive one. And his wife had agreed to it as long as there was no intercourse. It was just oral and tying people up. But obviously, she got pregnant. So it wasn't just oral and tying people up. During her trial, her defense lawyer described her as a genuine, honest person. Yeah, she ordered the pills, and then obviously at 26 weeks, that's you could save a baby's life at that. There are babies in ICU who will survive. So that's quite a big thing to do on your own with no medical intervention. And of course, it made her very ill. So she had to go to hospital. She put the baby in a backpack and went across hospital and didn't tell them she'd had the pills. And then they started treating her. And they said, "Oh, it's very unusual to miscarry, so we'll do a post-mortem." And then she was frantically on her phone and they were a bit suspicious. They did the post-mortem. The baby turned out to be 26 weeks old and they arrested her. And then when they looked at her phone, she'd been looking up, can it be detected, the drugs that she'd taken? Would they be able to detect it in the post-mortem? But this is the case that is going to change all abortion law. And this is the tragic case that means that women, it shouldn't be illegal anymore, and women should be able to have an abortion right up to the very end with these drugs. Why not just take contraception? You see women in America who've had 7, 8, 9 abortions, double figures sometimes. They're using it as contraception, and
yeah.
that, you know, I can understand why some people would say women have a right to choose, because obviously it is women who have to look after these children. But maybe society is somewhat at fault as well if women feel that they have no way to look after these children and they have to get
Yeah.
rid of them.
Yeah.
So something
But I
there
think
as well.
I don't think they even see it as a child or a person,
Well,
because
they
if it's
don't in
so easy to get
America.
rid of.
Yeah, they don't in America because a lot of them, because of the cost of healthcare until recently, a lot of them have never had a scan. So when they're told by doctors it's a blob, it's a bunch of cells, it's a fetus isn't a baby, they actually believe that. That it's not like here where you get a 12-week scan. So they don't. I mean, they don't even have a scan when they're having the abortion, do they? When they're
I
doing
don't
those,
know. I didn't
no, they do a
realize that.
blind because the scan is extra money. So that if they're not paid for it, they don't, they're just hoping. And we'll have a look at a video of a doctor talking about the blind abortion.
After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and a half-inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion, so picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you.
And that's why it's been so easy for the American rights people to just say it's not a baby. And they're horrified when they find out the truth. And there are charities, Christian charities in America, who wait for people who want an abortion and say, just have a scan first, and they'll pay for the scan.
Yeah.
But it's very
Yeah.
obviously with the no-go zone areas around abortion clinics, and it's very hard to get that. So it's very
Yeah.
hard to give these women any help when they feel like there is no help and they've got no one to turn to. It's
Yeah.
almost like it's been made so they haven't. It's you're not even allowed to pray quietly outside with your eyes
Yeah.
closed.
Well,
It's
that's the
been
same
made
here now,
to
isn't it?
ensure that no one is there to give them any support and offer them an alternative.
It's the same here now in this country, exactly the same. You're not allowed to do that. There's massive no-go zones around, aren't there?
It's kind of like it's designed to put them in a position where they have no other choice but to get rid of these babies. And of course, as a result, everyone's telling us there's a fertility crisis all over the world. Fertility crisis, no one, it must be something in the water. No, if we have a look, you'll see births plummet sharply after 1967 when abortion came into force. It was already on decline after the height of the 60s, but if you compare it to the births in World War II, actually during the war, the number of births became lower than it had been during World War II. The first time births were lower than deaths was in 1976, and that's the year after contraception was made widely available in 1975. Yes.
So my thinking is, before people were more careful and considered it more that they didn't want to get pregnant if that wasn't planned. As soon as it was available that they didn't have to worry, then it was never going to be 100% effective. So they just became less moral, more what's the word that begins with P? Promiscuous. And this is quickly just linking back to the whole pineal gland. The pineal gland kind of opens up the sort of sexuality, but it's if your pineal gland is open and working properly, you're sort of searching for higher things. Whereas the whole mass media and deliberately trying to get people to be just materialistic and living in the moment and hedonistic shuts them off from finding the higher spirituality. So it's easier to control people when all they care about is getting the next thing, or it's sleeping around, and that's part of the dumb down and the control of the human race, rather than allowing them to reach the spiritual awakening or ascension.
Yeah, I mean it's about human flourishing, isn't it? If you suddenly throw away marriage and commitment, well, it's the children who suffer in the end because they're just a commodity. They'll either be thrown away or not raised properly. They're not important in the equation when all you're interested in is self. It's destroyed society from within. And the worst thing about it is this view that it's just a bunch of cells, when it says in the Bible, I knew you before I knit you together in the womb. So not even conception, it's before that. A human is an individual with individual rights. So Stella Creasy is going to join in with this bill. She wants an amendment to make it totally legal up to birth, with no consequences whatsoever in whatever situation. But she's calling it a matter of human rights.
But what about the human rights of the child?
Yes. So she's saying that the child isn't a human, isn't she? Because only
Basically.
the mother has human rights. Have you seen that Bill Gates wants to vaccinate all the farm animals and all the vegetables? He wants to vaccinate the vegetables with mRNA.
Yeah. He just wants to.
So even the vegetables will be safe from COVID once Billy Boy's got his needle into them, bless him.
Well, they won't be safe from COVID because the jab's got nothing to do with protecting against COVID, has
I know. But yeah, so none of us will be safe from the vegetables. I just wanted to finish with Greta and her chums who did the Gaza Global March.
Oh,
Did you
yes.
see that?
I did
Did you
see
hear
that.
about that? Yes, they marched from all over the world to land in Egypt with the intention of going through the Rafah Gate as a symbol.
Was Greta? I don't think Greta was with
No,
that
Greta
one.
wasn't there, no, but
they're following in her
it was all
footsteps.
inspired.
Yeah.
And then of course they landed in Egypt and waited for their bus to take them to Rafah, and the locals weren't that pleased.
Oh, the Welsh. Is it the Welsh guy on his
Oh, and the
knees,
Welsh
pleading?
guy on his knees, pleading.
I believe that the people of the Arabic nations have a white heart. I believe you are good people. They are starving children. I tried to feed these children and they shot at me.
Yes, wonderful
Did you
stuff.
know that the interpreter got so fed up he just walked off in the end? Found it so ridiculous. I mean, you give it, you got to give it to him. He was, putting his life and soul into that translation from the Welsh guy. He must have thought, what the heck, and had
I
enough.
was thinking this is embarrassing. I'm too embarrassed. I've got to go. It's not manly. It's just not manly. I can't do this. I'm Egyptian. I mean I just thought that lovely reality check, a little taste of actuality,
Yes, yes.
bursting their bubble,
It's
seeing
just
the
so
crowd, attacking them all, and just chucking them physically into trucks. Wonderful stuff. Well done.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
More of
yeah.
that, please. Anyway, we better go. Have a lovely week.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.